for me, I grew up here, so like this was my hometown. This is all my obsessions as a 10-year-old boy, and I'm happy to be a filmmaker, and I'm able to like do this for a living. And thankfully, I was able to convince a lot of other people that this was an exciting story to tell. And it all stems from that 10-year-old boy in Oakland.
He just wore me down over the years, pitching me different versions of Freaky Tales, version after version after version for like the past decade. And so finally I was just like, all right, already, we'll figure it out. And this was the one we came upon, these like 4 intersecting stories of like East Bay underdogs seeking out justice. And the fun thing about this movie is that the underdogs might actually win.
Well, he has some athletic talent, so I think he played in college as well. So I just told him don't miss any shots when he's playing me. But he's been great to work with. He's so humble, such a pro, and just made me feel so comfortable on set. So he's been a good friend so far, and I've enjoyed working with the whole cast and the director and the writer. They've been so amazing to put this story together based on 1987. Our playoff game. It's just a blessing.
Yeah, I kept telling him, I didn't know how much of the script he had actually seen, but I kept telling him, I hope you're proud of what I do. I want to do right by you. But it was cool. I mean, Sleepy really gave me a lot of his time. I thought about what does his accent sound like, and, his body language and how a Hooper kind of moves. And, he has this big, energetic, like, very magnetic smile, and so I thought about that a lot. And then really, as I went into the movie and started prepping some of the martial arts and some of the weapons work, I also thought about like what are some basketball moves, what are some moves that I could incorporate that Sleepy would have done. Like, I think of the game specifically from this night in the film where he scores 29 points in a quarter, and he has this really amazing like crossover that he does. And I remember telling Ron, our stunt coordinator, I wanted to add that crossover into the choreography, into the fight choreography, and like find a way to use that and use a spin move, because those were signature Sleepy moves. So it was really cool getting to do that, getting to study him, getting to spend time with him, to hear his stories. It was amazing.
From the start, Ryan was hitting me up, and he's like, I want you to be involved. This has a lot to do with you. I read the script before we even talked. I knew what it was, and I always just felt like, I'm going to put my all into it. I wanted to make sure it was as authentic as possible for the people of the city when they see it to say, okay, that's a town. And, I was really proud that they involved me. I'm really, really glad that I got to be a part of this.
It's a beautiful thing. I'm actually from the Bay Area, so I grew up coming to this theater. My family got a lot of memories in this theater, so for me to be a part of the film is a big blessing, and I think it's a great thing for Oakland, a great thing for our community, so I'm very excited about it.
I'm born and raised to imagine that a song that I wrote when I was 16 is being portrayed on the big screen it's amazing. Nothing that I saw coming. It's been like 37 years. I'm 53 now. So to watch Normani and Dominique perform is it's pretty fantastic.
I think it's a real treat. I think it is a genuine love letter to this city that has had such a strong influence on music and sports and activism. I think there's so much that has started in the Bay and started in Oakland. So many great artists that have come out of here, past and present. So I think for Ryan and himself included, so I think for him to be at the helm of this was really the best way to write that letter.
I talked to the directors very, very transparently about not feeling cool enough to play the part. And I had all these other casting ideas for the part. And they were like, no, we want you to do it. And I was like, okay, well, but what about this guy? And they're like, no, we want you to do it. Ryan and Anna were the first directors to send me a playlist based on my character, and it moved me so deeply because I always make a playlist for each of my characters. I always start with some kind of piece of music or song to kind of anchor me into getting started. And so It started like that, and then they blocked me into the early part of shooting, and of course there are so many interconnected stories, but the intersections are very, very brief and sudden. So in the first part, I was a little bit on a lonely path, and then the moments I got to intersect with the cast felt like these little gems and these magical little intersections of kind of crossing paths with the other stories that are being told within the movie. But for me, there's a lot of nostalgia attached to this movie. There's a lot of love and passion that was put into making it. It's also a story about defending the underdog and fighting, fascism in all its different forms, and I love that. And it's very earnest in that message, and very bold and violent in a very playful way, but very, very sincere in its message of fuck Nazis.
Well, I play Josh, who is a white kid from Oakland who's never been in a fight, who gets into punk rock, and then around the Gilman Street scene, gets in with these people, and experiences his first bout of violence that I think is earned and justified, and they give him hell, so yeah.
Well, Tina is part of the punk scene that's in Oakland in the 80s that eventually gives birth to really iconic punk bands, including Rancid and Green Day. So there's a lot of really cool references if you're familiar with that world, so look out for that. But Tina as a character, she's cool, she knows she's cool, she's going to speak her mind, she's going to take up space, and she's going to kick some butt.
Pedro's the nicest guy ever, and I was kind of scared of going into it because he's Pedro Pascal, but I remember he was just the nicest guy. He let me use his he had a latte machine in his trailer, and he let me use it. So I was I'm okay, immediately this guy's genuinely nice, genuinely cool. But everyone was so nice, so great.